All right, hi everyone. I don't know where Mike went. Welcome to another talk hour, and today we have a special guest with us, comedian, actor. He's a very special guy. I've known him now for quite some time. You guys know him as the New Jersey bad boy, Mr. Mike Marino. Let's
Uh-oh.
bring him on. Hey,
Here I
Mike.
am. What's going on, big brother?
Not too much. We're confined to our own homes right now, and try to do something different for a change. Have you been? Have you been?
Well, you know what? Touring like crazy. Everything was wonderful until March 15th when I did my last show, and that was that. Called it a wrap. Now I'm sitting here at my place in Los Angeles. I got my studio and making some videos, but no more touring.
No, I know, and I think it's going to be hopefully in a couple months we can resume doing some shows. It's been crazy. As a matter of fact, the last show I did was with the Uncle Lou, and that was the March 15 weekend in Brantford, Connecticut. That we haven't done nothing since.
Yeah,
But a lot of people know you as a comedian. Obviously your stand up, it's unbelievable. You're
thank you.
really one of the strongest comedians around. I mean, they get everybody that comes to your shows, they get their money's worth.
Yep.
It's 1 hour of sometimes even more of just bang, 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 bang. And I love that about you. But I know you're from New Jersey, and but before you became a comedian, you did a lot of. I mean, you still do movies, but you started I think, as an actor. No.
I started out as an actor when I was a little kid. So I grew up doing TV commercials in New York City, from potato chips and candy and stuff like that. And then I went on to do some small parts in some movies and TV shows. I didn't start doing stand up till I was about 30 years old.
Wow. But I mean, you went to school for it. You're not. I know a lot of people just went on stage and start doing things on their own, but you actually went to a very prestigious school. If I'm correct, you went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and
Yeah,
Herbert. What is it? Bankoff Studio.
yeah. Went to Herbert Berghoff Studios when I was 16. And I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts when I was 18. And I studied intensive theater training. And that's all I ever wanted to be, was a theater actor and do movies and television. Like I said, it wasn't until I was around 30 years old that I thought I had the flair to be a live performer and do stand-up comedy. And then here in Los Angeles, I would go to the Comedy Store night after night after night trying to hone my craft. And I guess in the last 10 years is when I really started hitting, let's say, some pretty big numbers touring the country, including the tour I did with you, the Italian Bad Boys of Comedy.
I. It's funny that you mentioned Los Angeles. You're a Jersey guy. How does a Jersey boy find himself in Los Angeles? I mean, what are some of the differences? For example, the reaction of the crowds that you get, in both places. East West Coast.
Well, the East Coast is a great place to learn stand-up comedy and get into business like that. Of course, because New York City's got all the prime comedy clubs, but I wanted so badly just to come to Los Angeles and work in film and television. So when I got out here, the number one club, or number three, there was a comedy store, the Laugh Factory, and the Improv. I figured if I got on stage there, I'd start hitting some baseballs and play the game. Now, a guy from New Jersey having a little bit of an accent and an attitude and the East Coast vibe, that's what really started working for me when I was performing here and then again around the country, because people do have an affection for, let's say, Italian wise asses from Jersey.
Right. I mean, you worked many years with, I don't know if people know that, a lot of the sketches with Jay Leno up in Los Angeles. How
Yeah.
was that?
I don't remember how long ago it was because it's a while ago now, but I wanted to do stand-up comedy on the Tonight Show. And when I went down there to audition, I met the wrong guy. I met this casting director who gives you the sketches. And he said, you have a really great acting background and you have a really nice reel of acting work. You could probably start doing some sketches with Jay. And then it was like the greatest 10 years because every week I got to go down there and do a skit with Jay, whether I was a cop chasing him down the street or it was something live in the audience. Maybe I heckled him or do something goofy and stupid. And for years, it just kept going and going and going. And I never really questioned it. I was pretty happy because, it was like being on Saturday Night Live.
Two of the sketches that I love the most on you and Leno, they keep resonating in my head, were one of the sketches were the North Pole one. There was a North Pole sketch you did, and Baywatch, New Jersey, which I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those were so funny. I keep watching over and over because it was amazingly funny. I was Jay is outside of the studio.
Jay was always a really nice guy, and he was one of the biggest reasons why I got to go there because after I did a bunch of skits and we would do the live pranks, you're live on television. So if it goes south and it's not that funny, he relied on me to pick up the joke. And so he would tell the casting director, tell Mike to come down. He's good for this one. Ask if Mike's in town. So, that's how that all worked out because we had a nice working relationship, whether it was just he and I or about 3 or 4 of the sketch members. And then when we did the one about Baywatch, it was because I was actually doing a skit at the Comedy Store about me being on Baywatch. And, we would tell people I ain't going to get in the water. I'm eating my lunch, Jersey style. And it stuck and it ended up going on the show, which was really cool. So technically, I wrote the skit.
So, what was I going to say? I mean, a lot of people don't know you were actually in some famous soap operas.
Yeah, I grew up doing soap operas. I guess what happened was when you're in New York City, the biggest thing at that time in the late 70s and the early 80s was soap operas. I never really watched them, but I did a line or two on Ryan's Hope, which was a big soap at the time. And I can't even, but it was As the World Turns that I went on, and I was on that show for about 8 months to a year. I never had a contract, but they always liked me and my character and the other guy's characters. So we were like,
what was the name of your character? Do you remember?
What?
What was the name of your character in the show?
Larry.
Larry? You do not look like a Larry.
Yeah, I know. I didn't feel like a Larry either. I don't know how I got that name, but I was Larry. The guy who was my partner in crime was Jay. The other girl's name was Spree, and we were the antagonists to the leads on the show. And at that time, it was Marissa Tomei. So she was probably 19. I think I was 23 years old. So my mom watched As the World Turns. I went down there as a goof. I ended up quitting the show because I booked a job that was shooting in Italy, and they promised 3 weeks in Italy. So I said, I'm going to Italy, and I went. I did a commercial called Join the Navy, See the World.
Well, I remember actually a bunch of commercials that you were on. But what strikes me the most about that time, which unfortunately seems like a long time ago, your beautiful blonde hair. Because I remember one time you and I were on tour, and you showed me the pictures. I'm like, that's you? You look like a surfer from LA, with those blondish hair. But one of the things that I think struck me the most is that you have done so much in your life, all kinds of spectrum. It seems like you've been pretty successful in all of them. Although, when I listen to your stand-up, one of the things you refer that you always wanted to be in mob movies.
Yeah.
But always end up being the Irish in it.
Yeah. Well, my mom is from Turonia Campobasso, Italy.
Yeah.
And all my family that's in Toronto and different parts of the world all have blonde hair and blue eyes. And I always wanted to be a wise guy. I always thought I would be Robert De Niro or Al Pacino, and I'd be in a Hitman movie. And then I started getting some roles in some movies like that, and I was always the Irish cop that they would take care of in the beginning of the movie. So I ended up making that a stand-up routine, saying all I ever wanted to be was a hitman, but I'm always an Irish cop, because there's a lot of truth to that. Right now, they're getting ready to re-air a movie I did called Pizza with Bullets, and I thought I was going to play a mob boss when I went down to the set, and I realized I played the priest who just can't stop eating food. But at least I get to be involved. And now with my own web series, Make America Italian Again, I play the mob boss who wants to be president of the United States. And sometimes we do really good. Sometimes we get a lot of fans, and the web series is doing good. It's all over the internet, MikeMarino.net and YouTube and stuff like that. So I guess eventually now I do. Maybe because I don't have as much blonde hair. I do have a ponytail coming out, though.
Oh, I see that. You haven't been to me neither. My hair is just growing. I was pretty much bald until this COVID thing, so now my hair is just growing faster and faster and faster. Um, we have somebody, and Sapphire goes, Mike, get some brown contacts.
Thank you, Ann. I appreciate that. Maybe I will get some brown contacts.
Yeah.
But then again, if I was to get brown contacts and really look like a mob boss, half my act would go out the window. So I think I'll keep it where it is.
The other thing is this: I love the trailer. I saw it, and you were working on your own series, reconstructing Jersey.
Yeah.
That was a great trailer. How did you guys shoot the pilot? How is that going?
We did the pilot about 4 years ago, reconstructing Jersey. And then we tried to get it to some networks and places like that, and it had some interest. I started making another one that's called Hey Marino, and we're still shooting Make America Italian Again, the web series. But Hollywood shut down right now, so I don't know who's selling any project to anybody. I mean, not only is live performances down, but shooting any movie or TV show here in Hollywood is just not going to happen. You can only imagine what's going on in New York City.
Absolutely. Actually, we have Ellen Tenuta says, Anthony and Mike, loved Mike's show at the Arcada. Hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I'm booked back there in October. I hope I get to go back. October 11th, Arcada Theater in Chicago.
Actually, we worked together, what was it, last year or 2 years ago at the Taylor Street Fest in Chicago.
Yeah.
I was with the Louis, and we were all on stage. I think it was on a Thursday night. It was a great time, big crowds. Always love going back to Chicago. It's one of my favorite cities. And some of my favorite people live there. Julie Kosar says, rock the blue eyes and be proud.
My mother had blue eyes. My father has blue eyes. My brothers all have blue eyes.
What I was going to say, so
I remember meeting Helen. Hi, Helen. How are you? I met Helen out at the Arcada Theater in Chicago. Nice to see you again, Helen. And thank you, Jules. Thank you, Julie. Appreciate you guys writing into the show. If you guys want to laugh from time to time, my YouTube channel is very easy to subscribe to. It's free. Mike Marino live on YouTube.
So now, let me ask you a question. What do you think? I was having this conversation yesterday with Frank Spadone. That's another really, really talented comedian. We actually worked all together, all of us.
Yes. I miss those days, boy. Remember how much fun we were having?
Oh, I think the first two was you, Wheels, Frank Spadone, and I think Guido Grasso, if I remember correctly.
Oh, Luca Palenka. And
that's great.
Teto, a lot of great guys.
Yeah. And I was talking to Frank. I don't know if a lot of people nowadays, a lot of the comedians, they figure out that it's going to be a while before you can perform live in front of an audience. And even when that comes around, there's going to be a lot of restrictions. A lot of comedians are opting to do private shows, like a pay-per-view type of shows online. And also, a lot of comedians are for it, and some of them are against it because they figured, they're going to copy, people are going to see the whole show, and they might not go back later on. What do you think about that? Do you think uh, are you thinking about doing something like that or not?
I will try to do something online eventually. I've done a few things already so far. It's horrible. It's horrible. It might make some people laugh. The entertainer is going to take a hit. It's not as joyful as being together in one big room. I mean, you go to see a rock concert with your friends, you got drinks, you're having fun, everybody's yelling and screaming and cheering. There's electric in the air. Doing it on the internet, I mean, where are we going to get uh, that high from? I mean, we're going to have to do something, this so-called new norm. But me personally, I'd rather perform live in front of an audience rather than perform on the internet. That's crazy.
Yeah, actually, like yesterday, I just got some news. One of the most famous theaters complex in America. It's in Cleveland. They have the Playhouse Square, and they have five big theaters. So we were actually with Uncle Louis. We were booked for sometime in November. They called us and they told us that three of the four out of the five theaters are going to be closing until further notice. And the 3,000 seat theater, they're going to turn it into 600. So I don't know how anybody's going to be able to make money like that. I mean, theater costs a lot of money already to book, and when you have a limited capacity, it's going to be really hard for anybody to get anything out of it.
Well, Broadway shut down until September. You think about the amount of people that lost their jobs, not just the actors, the people who decorate the sets and the people who run the lights and the people who usher, the people who sell popcorn, the hot dog
Right.
man down the block. I mean, Radio City Music Hall. I mean, come on. This is out of control. So they're going to have to do something. It's not just the entertainers that are going to lose a lot. Plus, I mean, we're Italians. I don't want to just say hello to somebody. I want to kiss somebody. I want to grab somebody. I want to hug each other. I want to get in the game. I want to do what we used to do. So I hope someday somebody finds a cure for all this mess so that we can actually go back to work.
I mean, I think the only real hope to be 100% back to normal, if it's, do you remember in the early 2000s, there used to be SARS. It didn't really hit America too hard, but it did hit pretty hard Canada and other parts of the world. And then, by like miracle, totally disappeared. So I'm praying every day that that would be the case where it disappeared and everybody goes back to normal. I got to tell you, it makes you appreciate what you had before.
Well, yeah, you ain't kidding. I'm never going to be upset about anything ever again. I had a great life. I had a great tour. I had great friends. I was eating great food. I've been all around the world twice, and I'm ready to go back again. And I'll be happy with just that. No complaints. It was just great. And I'm hoping a lot of people will start acting like that too. And they'll say to themselves, you know what? Why was I complaining? This is fine. Let's be nice to each other. Say hello to everybody.
Yeah, it's a like I say, it's a difficult situation to be in, and hopefully we'll get out of it soon. Even the sports teams, they don't even know what to do. I hear baseball wants to start in July, but with no spectators. Football, they're selling season tickets, but it starts. They're gonna start in September, but I don't know if that's is gonna work. I mean, I think even if they decide to reopen everything, uh, I think people are still going to be scared to go to these crowded places. You know, they had a theater that I spoke to. They're planning to reopen, but they're going to do only five people per row, and then the second row totally empty, and then five and five. But like that, how are you going to do a show with 200 people in a 2,000 seat room?
Well, you know what? If there's some theater that's willing to take a chance like that, I say we go for it. And what you have to do is just do two shows. Do a 7 o'clock and a 9 o'clock. If you get 1,000 seat theater and they're okay with putting 200 people in, do the show, do another one, and do another one. Just keep on stacking it. And we're all going to have to take a pay cut, which is, I think, the professional football players and baseball players take a pay cut. Don't do the whole thing and wait for the following season and then come back strong.
Now, growing up, you're a fantastic comedian. Were you inspired by other comedians growing up?
Yeah, of course. When I was a little kid, before I ever thought that I was going to be a comedian, I used to love um, Rodney Dangerfield, and I had Rodney Dangerfield's albums, and I used to impersonate him. Who, hey, how you doing? Who's that? And the other thing, and I did that. And then, of course, I was a big fan of Andrew Dice Clay, and I really became a big fan of his when I met him and started going on tour with Andrew Dice Clay while we were here in Los Angeles. So guys like that, I admired a lot.
See, one of my favorites were I'm coming from George Carlin. Love George Carlin. I
Yeah,
thought it was just totally brilliant. I saw Dice a couple years ago, and he still looks good for his age. I mean, he's
yeah.
been around for a long time, but he still picks it up. I know he did a bunch of shows on Showtime, which kind of revived him, so to speak. Um, he was the first. I think it was the first person to ever sold out Madison Square Garden as a comedian to sell out the Madison Square Garden twice.
He was. And if
Back,
you think about it, he sold out Madison Square Garden before the word social media, before the word internet, before any of this nonsense. He did it all through television and word of mouth and passing around flyers. And that is the biggest goal ever.
but he was passing around flyers to do that, huh?
People on the street were passing around flyers back in the day.
Actually, there was a singer. I mean, it's pretty popular. Kid Rock, the singer.
Yeah.
Before he was actually popular, he invited everybody in this industry to come and see him. He rented a 2,500 seater, and he went around Detroit just passing out flyers and selling CDs out of his trunk all over the city until he sold out that show. And that's when a lot of like Sony, I don't remember who the company was. That's how he ended up becoming popular, really doing the footwork to be noticed. You know. Uh, so if what do you for you in the next year or so? Now that you got, like I said, you have time to work on sketches. You got new material coming out too. I know that I see a lot of the new characters you've been introducing. Why don't you talk about some of the characters the people can expect to see on your videos?
Well, when I first started doing stand-up comedy, I used to impersonate my Uncle Tommy. My Uncle Tommy was one of these old world Italians that used to say the craziest stuff. And it was so much fun growing up with an uncle like that. And he was like Archie Bunker. So I used to imitate him. And I do a thing in my act about the coffee and how I can't order it like a tough guy. So I created this girl, Michelle, who we will never know whether it's a female or a male. You can decide. And my cousin, Michelle. And then I do a stone character, a guy who's always high as a kite. And I called him Mooney because when I was a kid, there was a surfer named Mooney, and he used to talk like this, dude, what's going on, man? And I love that guy. So I put all the characters together, and I make them talk to each other. And one of the last videos that I put out was my fake news family. And
I saw that.
I host news, and I have my uncle do special news, and Michelle does the weather, and I'm having the Stone character Mooney do the actual health and wellness portion of the show. Wait till you see him work out. You're gonna have it's hilarious. But I'm doing that here in my studio in front of the green screen, and we put out the videos on YouTube. And but I can actually do the characters on stage. So when I go back out on tour, hopefully I will actually do those characters in front of the audience.
That's what I was actually going to ask you if you were going to bring those characters into your live show. people that never seen you before live, what can expect out of your show?
I don't remember. I haven't done stand up in so long. I don't remember what I did. You know what? I was always happy performing, and I like to find things about the area and talk about that before I perform. I can make fun of anything and anything, and but in a nice way, in a caring way. And mostly, I talk about me, my family, how we see life, and what I would do if I really was the president of the United States. Plus, all the crazy things that are going on in the world. And I like to talk about getting older and having ailments and not being easily defined the way things are in the world, the way they were when I was a kid and the way my father took care of us. So I like to hit them hard.
That, that's fantastic. So the other thing that I was going to ask you, do you ever have how do you choose your openers during your shows? When you headline, because I've seen you headline shows where you actually even had musicians. I know you did a lot of shows with Sal Valentinetti, for example.
Yeah,
Uh, that must have been great for the audience. You get a
it is.
beautiful couple together, and a lot of other guys from like The Sopranos. Have you ever had? Who's some of the people, some of the best people that you enjoyed working with on stage?
Well, I like your guys over there, the Uncle Louie Variety Show. Those guys make me laugh. I watch them all the time, and I enjoy that. They remind me of my family. And I like being around people who are kind and happy and generous and enjoy being on stage with other entertainers. I've been lucky enough. I toured with Louis Prima Jr. I toured with Robert Davi. I toured with Sal Valentinetti. I toured with Dina Martin. In fact, I did a talk show with Dean Martin's daughter, Dina Martin, just last week. And when she talks about her family and how she lived next door to Lucille Ball and Marilyn Monroe used to come over and all the movie stars. And then I got to perform with them in Vegas and Connecticut, here in Beverly Hills. I feel like I'm part of Hollywood royalty. And whenever they get something that they want me to be at the opening act, I just say yes, and I get to go. And those are singers, you know.
Right.
Some of those shows were in the thousands. Robert Davi and I did Long Island. There was 10,000 people.
You know, I tell you what, Robert Davi, he's a great singer.
Yeah,
Uh, but I don't know if people know, he was one of the bad guys in the Goonies.
yeah, he was. He's been in a lot of movies, Robert Davi. One of his biggest claims to fame is the part that he played in Goonies, but he was also in the movie License to Kill. He was on a TV series. He just finished another couple of movies. We just did a show together. Well, I guess it was in March over at Vibratos here in Beverly Hills, and it's an honor to be on stage with him. It really is because here's an A-lister. This is a Hollywood A-lister, and he calls me up, Marino. What are you doing? Why don't you come down, man? Let's come down. Kick it with me. Kick it with me. You could do it. You could do it. And I'm like, thank you. I can't wait to come. I should call him today. Maybe he could be on your show.
I would love to have him on for sure. You know, I remember before we even met, and it was you just did an unbelievable show at the Borgata. And as a matter of fact, a DVD was
Yeah,
released that
yeah.
show, the Live at the Borgata, and you had some great testimonials. I was like, wow! You had Brett Garrett from the Ray Romano show.
I
You had,
wrote to him this morning, Brad Garrett.
yeah, you had which does he own? I'm not sure, but I know does he own any clubs, any comedy clubs?
Yeah, Brad Garrett owns the Brad Garrett Comedy Club at the MGM in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, I guess they're closed right now, but I wrote to him this morning just to say hello and see how you doing. Brad's a great, nice, humble guy.
You had John Voight
John
on,
Boyd.
you know, I, I can't believe his daughter is Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, well, I was hosting the Beverly Hills Film Awards one night a couple years ago, and John Boyd came walking in late. And as the host of the show, it was like the Oscars
Yeah,
for independent films. So I started making fun of him, and he had a good time with it. Then we started enjoying each other, heckling, heckling, heckling. And then he came up for his Lifetime Achievement Award. And when I handed it to him, he turned to the audience and said, "This young man should host the Oscars. This is the funniest, nicest, greatest comedian." So when we were done, I called him and I said, "Hey, could you give me a testimonial?" He said, "Absolutely." And, this is an Oscar winner. He's an Oscar winner.
John Tena, which is one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, they came to my studio and they all gave me testimonials.
As a matter of fact, you were talking about you hosted the Beverly Hills Awards.
Yeah.
You also hosted many more after that. I know you did the Hoboken Film Festival as well.
I hosted the Hoboken Film Festival, Golden Door Film Festival, Garden State Film Festival, Toronto, here, the Beverly Hills, many awards banquets when they give out the trophies for the films, actors, actresses, producers, directors, and I enjoy it.
Well, actually, talking about awards that you actually give out, back in the days, yourself got nominated for a big award, which is the Clio Award, correct?
Yeah. I don't remember that, boy.
My job. It's my job to know things. As a matter of fact, the Clio Award is important because it's also an international panel. It's not just.
I was 19 years old and I was nominated for a Best Male Performance in a TV commercial. The commercial was United Airlines. I played a Marine coming home from boot camp, and I believe the year was 1982 because I was right out of high school, and I got to go down to Radio City Music Hall, and they did the nominees, and I lost to the Dr. Pepper ad, but the actor's name was
then Dr. Pepper.
I forgot his name, but he won. But I mean, I ended up getting work like you have no idea in New York City.
If I remember, that's a commercial that was filmed in Italy, correct? With the airline?
ABC The World was done in Italy. The United Airline commercial was done in Los Angeles.
Wow. See, that's impressive. So you were only 19 and already nominated for something huge, You must have felt like $1 million. I can just imagine.
Well, in a way, I almost didn't know what a Clio was because I was kind of a newbie, but I did feel like a king. And then you start getting paychecks that are out of control for a teenager. But I was very smart about my money.
Well, let me ask you a question. You started so young. How was your family? Was your family supportive of the careers that you wanted to have? Because when you're in the entertainment business and you're so young, so a lot of times you might have parents are like, "Listen, you're from Jersey, go get a job, asshole." You know what I mean? How was your parents towards you when you wanted to pursue this career?
Well, it was tough because when I was a kid, I worked at the supermarket. I worked at the local supermarket while I was going to high school and college. And I got out of my first year of the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and that's when I did that commercial. So I wanted to just stay as an actor. But I did work for my dad's construction company. I did work for the supermarket, and I kept going into New York going on auditions. So my parents were kind of like, when is he going to quit? Is he going to give it up? But then they would see me on TV, and they'd be like, well, wait a minute, he's doing really good. So then you had your good years and your bad years, and the parents were always kind of encouraging, but I had something to fall back on if I wanted to work for my dad's construction company, which eventually became my two brothers' construction companies. And they have the company, and my father, of course, is retired, but now I'm just 100% in show business no matter what. And hopefully when this pandemic's over, I can have my career back.
Yeah, we can't wait for that. So now, for people that want to follow you, I know you already mentioned it earlier. I want you to tell people what's the best place to follow you, your videos, your characters. Give us your social media's address.
My YouTube channel is youtube.com/Mike Marino Live. My Instagram is at Mike Marino Live. My Facebook is at Mike Marino Live, and Twitter is at Mike Marino Live. Everything is at Mike Marino Live. And you can subscribe to my newsletter that I put out every Wednesday at MikeMarino.net. I even sell shirts that say Make America Italian Again. And not only do we have shirts, we have underwear, we have tracksuits, and we have sweatsuits. I'm probably going to come out with a mask. But if anybody wants to go to MikeMarino.net, pick up some swag, I'll make sure you get it right away. They're inexpensive, and we do some really cool stuff with that. Check it out.
I just want to tell a little story about indirectly to Mike. So my daughter, one of the first comedians, because I've done many shows in music since I was 22, 23 years old. I brought a lot of singers. But the first tour, the first comedian I ever worked with was Mike Marino. Mike and Frank Spadone, that was the first tour. So Mike ended up meeting my daughter, Natalia, and Natalia became a big fan. So everything, Mike gave her some little, because one of the slogans that Mike has is hit him with a bat, which ended up giving her like a little bat keychain. So now, couple months later, it was summer, and her and I, we went to a apple farm fest, and there's little kids doing karate. And while they're doing karate, the teacher comes up to her and she goes, "Oh, you like what you see?" And Natalia goes, "Yeah, it's really cute. The little kids are doing karate." Goes, "Wouldn't you like to learn?" And she goes, "No, thank you." "Oh, come, you're not interested?" She goes, "Yeah, but we're Italian. We use baseball bats." True story. And she was influenced. This bad influence was from Mike Marino. Just so Mike, I really would like to thank you for coming on to the show today.
Absolutely.
I love the time, and hopefully, once this is over, we can get back to work. We can work together. A lot of people, actually, I'm looking at a lot of the comments. It's like, you guys should get a whole group of you guys and start touring. Trust me, there's nothing more that I would love to do that. Hopefully, this fall or winter will be allowed to do such a thing. So
right now, one of your friends is writing in, Ann, and she said she saw the United Airline commercial. Folks, if you're watching, go on my YouTube channel. There's some great footage of Make America Italian Again. My podcast, live from my mother's basement, you can listen to and watch, and a lot of different funny, great clips. So I thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mike. And I'm sure we'll touch base shortly.
Very soon. You got it.
Okay, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Mike. And actually, this show will be replayed on YouTube in a few hours.
Okay, great.
Yep, bye-bye.